Good. Good. Assalamu alaikum, Z.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah. Welcome, welcome.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Well, you all heading out to Philly at some point, right?
Yes, tomorrow. We leave tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, good. Have safe travels. Alhamdulillah. And
Inshallah. And Nisa, she should be getting into Chicago about now.
yeah, I saw her. She showed up on the camera this morning. You could see her on the train.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, moving right along. That girl gets around.
Oh yeah, she gets around. She's going from Chicago to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. Then she'll be there tomorrow afternoon, I think.
All right, well, that's good. That's good. I hope the ride is comfortable for her.
Inshallah. She said Tiny hooked her up, so.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so.
That's good.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
That's good.
So when had you always had this extension class after the
Yeah. It was like, I don't know, maybe a little more than not more than 2 months, but it probably feels more like a month. Uh, it just became clear. It's like there's certain things that I take for granted in the way that I do read, interpret, etc. That are actually, how can you say, habitual, whatever skill sets, let's say, habitual after these decades of studying, listening, and teaching from the Imam's logic. So then what happened was when we use the term, the language of Imam W. Muhammad, but most people actually don't have a technical understanding of what does that actually mean.
Okay.
And what the curriculum actually that we use is from a paper that I wrote after finding out a controversial word that was going around about me, and it was totally legit actually, and that's the point that we're at in that paper now. It's about 66 pages that I did
Oh,
in
okay.
two,
Well,
two, 2009, about 2009. And I had originally gave it out free, just circulate for the information. So I'm using this moment to also do some upgrades to it. And so I'm coming back to something that I
uh-huh.
hadn't done in about 15 years. So inshallah, we do that.
All right.
Um, Now, as it goes, and I know, and your husband knows, sometime one student show up, sometimes two students show up.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes,
So,
yes, yes. I do know that.
so I mean, I do what I can, but in any case, recording this, it'll be in the archives. But usually, I give about 5 minutes for folks to check in,
Uh-huh.
and I'm at that point right now. So I'm going to go ahead and take off on the intended subject matter for
Uh-huh.
for today.
Okay.
Uh, so let me get reset here. Alhamdulillah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Dear brother and sister, and also brothers and sisters of the future, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we are continuing on the language extension portion, and what we're going to start with today is I was asked a question last week. I believe it was Matala that brought the question up, and for me, I wasn't fully satisfied with my answer. The main reason being that I know I have so much more to say than I said, and I think that there were some crucial things that I could have. So now this right here, this piece right here, uh, I'm only showing you this to let you know how much there is, and there's just one dimension.
Oh, wow.
This one had more to do with we won't be able to keep the mics open. So everybody else, I need you to go ahead and mute. the so it's just so much. I mean, at some point in time, we're gonna go through all of that. But I just want to point out as we do, just to point to. I guess all I'm doing is just okay, sampling, right? This Taylor Swift thing is wow, wow, wow. The I won't elaborate on it, but the whole Eras tour, the Midnight album, and the 13th title on the Midnight album, called Mastermind. Literally, it's the Jahcubite just talking, literally, literally. So, but we're not going to get into it today. So I'm trying to point to the fact of how broadly and deeply media, both movies and music and other forms of entertainment, they all serve, quote unquote, the master of this Western world's life. So this one right here is the movie Simone, and of course you see this. This is a big part of it. This piece right here was the part that really like gave me the key to where, okay, this is what this is. This right here, this Jeepers Creepers, the Jeepers Creepers, and it's Michael Jackson and the Scarecrow thing, and that's there too. This is still the movie Simone, Monsters Inc. Right, just so much telling stuff in there. I'm only saying this to you to just, it's kind of like show you the warehouse, just one, just what's on the shelves, right? This movie Simon, I'm sorry, well, I can make it a little bit bigger just for sampling purposes. This movie Simon is truly, and see, this one is Simone, right? Let me click into it. All right, we're gonna get out of it, but this is Simone, right? Simone. So it's the same Simon. This is Simon. This is Simone. So a simulated one, right? Simone. And this one's Simon, right? And so the point is that they're this has to do with artificial intelligence, etc. And this one has to do with manufacturing a mind for the person. And that's just a short version of that. So I just wanted you to see it. That's one movie. And then so this is one of the things that appears in the movie Simon, and this is what it is replicating, and this is what this also is a token showing that we are using the same strategy that the Pharaoh and that the Egyptians, quote unquote, used to master their populations, right? Then you got the mastermind that, oh, this is movie Unleashed, which is, was Morgan Freeman and Jet Li, and it is, again, it's a story telling how the Jahcubite manipulates and masters and controls individuals, put them on a leash, right? And then unleash them, right? Just like when Superman, this Superman that's out right now, they brought the white dog back. All right. So again, unleashed, right? So you can see that the noose and the collar and all that playing into the actual meaning of this. So this is, I don't know, what is not mini me, despicable me, right? And you see how long his nose is, and that's also sending a message. And this one was Kool and the Gang. Kool and the Gang, fresh. She's fresh. And we have to move on. But and I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm just saying this to you. I don't. Obviously, I'm not covering it, but I'm telling you how many places that this kind of information is, quote unquote, hiding and projected in, right? So one of the big giveaways on this one that gets you to paying attention, and trust me, Kool and the Gang didn't know nothing about, no, they did not know what was going on and how they were being used in this process. So, but the clock goes backwards. The clock, you can see it in different parts of the video, but the clock goes backwards, right? So the whole idea is about turning back time, right? The infantilization of man, slowing down, retarding the human growth, the human development. And then there's a quick split second, and I caught it in screenshots, a quick split second situation where this blade-like thing comes out and then stabs this square of light right here. It's like, what is the relevance of that? I mean, you know, so it's not, and it's one of those, you know, it would, isn't it, it is subliminal because I mean, if you just listen to the, if you're just watching the music, popping your fingers to the music, blah blah blah, you're not paying attention to those kind of details. But if you are investigating, looking for the schemer's behavior, yeah, that's when you'll see that. But it happens in an instant. It happens in an instant, and then you find out. So then I just put this quote on this slide where it says they're not killing time, but using time to kill your natural motivations, drives, sentiments, and aspirations. Clock's going backwards, right? Clock's going backwards, and so that's a part of it. And this is in the video. This is in the video of live. Pardon me. She's fresh. Exactly. So mentioning this here, for example, this is one of the giveaways in movies. So this is inside of some kind of Masonic thing, you know, whatever, one of those quote unquote ritual rooms or what have you. So you have this checkerboard scenario here. That's why in a lot of movies, when you see that checkerboard pattern comes up, there's communication. There's communication that's happening. And even if the checkerboard pattern is green and white, right? It doesn't have to be black and white. That's too obvious, right? But as soon as you have that pattern, excuse me, I've been having a little serious little cough. As soon as you have that pattern, it said pay attention. Pay attention. And I'll go back up here to show it again in another. I think we've seen it. Okay, so we've seen it. One more look, and then I'm going to go to very specific. But I just wanted to let you know, and this is yeah. So it's not no more there. This one right here, for example, we're talking about hints and clues to what's going on. You know, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. This is Keanu Reeves and whoever this other was, right? So you know Keanu Reeves shows up in the Matrix piece. You know, Superman used to come out of the telephone booth, right? When you first met Trinity, when she had to escape the agents chasing her in the Matrix, she had to go into a phone booth, and that's how she got away. Superman goes into a phone booth and he transformed. Bill and Ted, they get into the phone booth and they travel through history, right? Then you have this one, Time Bandits, right? This movie, Time Bandits, and it's some dwarfs who got their hands on the blueprint of God for all time in history, and they would travel through history, taking advantage of their foreknowledge of history and exploiting people, et cetera, et cetera. It's given as a satire, but that is what the Jahcubite does. He turns the clock back. He rotates time. You have you going forward and you have you going backwards. That's the whole tick-tock. That's the whole tick-tock scenario. So that's what they do. They control time in that respect. There was let me see if this, where is this? Let me see if I can find one more thing before we formalize it. Let's see. Oh yeah. See, this is a Cash Money Millionaire, you know, rap artist, rap group, and this is on the stage. They had this big watch on the stage, right? Big watch, right? So who's watching? Who's watching? You got this big watch. They call it the watch face, and they call it a watch. And so the control of time, and also with this, you know, the timepiece is always representative of hypnosis, right? In symbolism, you get the idea of hypnosis. And this statement from the Imam about how the culture swings from oppressive to liberal states, and that's the way that the common public is controlled. So the whole TikTok thing is like no big thing. When I say no big thing, it's like it should not be surprising how powerful it is because it's a part of the program and programming. All right, so let me I'm going to stop that share, and we're going to open up what I want to share specifically today. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more time because I'm actually speaking of movies, right? In a manner of speaking, I'm starting you in the middle of the movie, right? In a manner of speaking, I'm starting you in the middle of the movie. But we'll wind up covering as much as we can. But this piece, actually, the title on it in my files is Zionism and the New American Century. This is whatever, it's from some time ago, but doesn't matter. This is the main thrust of the whole piece. But what the question that came up for us yesterday, pardon me, not yesterday, last week, was the role of the movies and how movies play it is it whatever, is it done deliberately, consciously, something to that effect. And my intention and my motivation is to get us more whatever settled about, yeah, it's a real thing, it's an actual thing, it's a concrete thing, it really happens. And a big part of it early on in this whole presentation. Okay, let me see. Let's just move it up a little bit. I'm gonna have to take a breath, and because there's so much to say, and it's so hard to cut stuff off, right? So I'm just gonna take a breath, and whatever we get to, that's what we get to today. So here's famous philosopher, modern society, if you will, says the good thing about people is that most people are inherently good. Most people want to live a simple life, want to cause no trouble, and wish to do no harm. The problem with most people being inherently good is that their goodness often blinds and prevents them from seeing how truly wicked evil can be. As some people just can't, how can a human being be that way? And in a certain manner, let me tell you all something since it's passing through my mind. Wetiko, W-E-T-I-K-O. That's just something to look up to understand the quote unquote the nature of quote unquote this human is not the best word that we want to use in as much as we take human as a good term, but that those quote unquote human beings that do these evil things, right? So you have to talk about psychopaths, sociopaths. Those are clinical terms for it, but there are quote unquote anatomically, biologically, physiological human beings that are evil, and and they're not all quote unquote satanic cult worshipers or anything like that. They are in three-piece suits, drive Rolls Royces, and whatever. That's what they are. So sometimes that's what throws us and causes us to good people, cause us to fail to pursue a thought or embrace a thought of when the finger points to yes, they did this consciously. It's kind of hard for good people who haven't registered the fact that this level of deviance can happen in a person. They can be sober, rational. They can be all that, and rationalize and justify. Just like Gaza and the horrid tragedy that's going on over in Palestine right now. Tens of thousands of children blatantly, outrightly killed, people being starved, you know, and they're blocking the public out. The international journalists are forbidden to go in. The UN nuclear inspectors forbidden to go in. Uh, all of that aid is forbidden to go in, etc. It's horrible. That's the shaitan on two legs on earth operating, right? So okay, so let's go back to this part. These are quotes from Imam Mohammed from different sources. He said, I thought that nobody on earth of high school age would believe that what happens in the movie is reality. But there was an argument that ensued actually happening, and are not just acts, meaning people actually having fights because of movies, right? He said, you go see a fiction movie and we're just enchanted with it. But that's their kick. Now that's the Jahcubite. That's their kick. Their kick is seeing us respond to darkness while they have the light. The stupid Gentile goes and looks at it and enjoys it as a piece of Hollywood entertainment. Right in the same scheme, they, the Jahcubite, entertain themselves. So they're entertaining themselves by seeing the people being entertained by something where their scheme is right in their face, but since they don't know, the entertainment is the fact that they don't know, and it's right in front of them, right? I think about just the invisible man, right? Somebody who's the invisible man, but and you're hanging around them and they can't see you because you're invisible, and that entertains such people. I want to mention this. I don't know if it's going to come up, but one of the overt uh, movies. There are many, but one of them, since it comes to mind, that's what I do. I catch it when it comes to my mind. I say, "Under the Silver Lake," "Under the Silver Lake," and it is about. It's a whole, quote unquote. It's kind of it's not actually a satire. It's just kind of run, like a, let's just call it a regular movie, not a satire like the Simone and the Simon and the dwarfs and the time bandits and the like. It's a little less farcical in that, but the idea is that there's this guy who finds out that there's symbolism in the cereal boxes, and little codes in the cereal boxes, and so he believes that's there, and he's trying to convince others, trying to find out how is that. And so his whole trip, his whole journey, the plot of the movie is him trying to find out who is it that put these secret symbols and these secret signs in the cereal boxes, etc. So he goes on a voyage or a journey or what have you. It's an urban journey, Los Angeles. So he goes from neighborhood to neighborhood, venue to venue, trying to find out where's the source of these symbolic messages that's in the cereal boxes. And there's one scene when he finally gets to, and just turns out to be a White House, when he finally gets to and finds the place where all this stuff is generating from. It's literally like the Jahcubite, right? You'd have to see it. So if you get a chance, Under the Silver Lake, that's one that's blatant, overt. It overtly, in the movie, it overtly says what we're saying. It's like there are those people who produce pieces of art, pieces of literature, pieces of music, produce movies that take advantage of our habitual mindedness, and that habitual mindedness couched in social blindness. And so they make hit after hit, they get paid after paid, the individual gets controlled and exhausted uh, on the basis of what they actually produce. And so it talks about the one who actually is the generator of all of that. And in this moment in time, we're talking about the Jahcubite in that sense. Okay, so let's move on. So here's a person I mentioned him last week. This is Arnon Milcom. This one, the Oscar, I think the Revenant that won with DiCaprio and the bear, right? You remember that bear just mauled this cat? So it was The Revenant, I believe it is. This was the director of the movie. This is Arnon Milcom. He's the money behind it. All right. So this is Arnon Milcom. Let's just read this profile real quick. A 2000 profile by Los Angeles Magazine collected many of the reports from media and people in Hollywood that Milcom dealt arms for the Israeli government. Throughout the 70s, 80s, and even up until the Gulf War in 1991, Milcom was Israel's foremost weapons procurer, brokering deals for such prized super weapons as the Hawk missile and the famous Scud foil of the Gulf War, the Patriot. Quote, everything from nuclear triggers to rocket fuel to guidance systems, according to NBC News. Milcom clarified to the magazine that he was more, okay, he clarified, okay, y'all saying I'm a whatever, a spy or whatever you want to say. He said, let me clarify for you. I am more than a spy, rather more, that I was more of an agent, pardon me, for Israel than an out and out dealer, helping to secure weapons only for his home country. Milcom, this is 25 years ago, mind you, Milcom's adventures in international intrigue also included helping the apartheid regime in South Africa buy newspapers. It's all about controlling the culture, controlling the narrative, controlling the information, right? So, including helping the apartheid regime in South Africa to buy newspapers, he said he withdrew from the arrangement once he better understood the nature of apartheid. Yeah, okay. And associations with an individual who was indicted by the US government on charges of smuggling timers with a nuclear capability into Israel. Milcom was never charged. That's kind of a, an Epstein thing, but he's still alive and free. And there's so many clips. I mean, I do collect these clips, these shorts. Uh, and the idea is that the Israelis, whenever they want everything exactly that whatever that America has, whether it be jets or whether it be nuclear capability and all that, and America is just a sycophant. Look it up to Israel, and if you don't, if we quote unquote don't give it to them, they do and have sent in their spies. And there's one on Patrick Bet David, PBD. Look him up. There's one that they talk about. They talk about that and explain that they would always, whatever they would bring, they would put a a snooping device in whatever they would bring. I don't care if it's donuts or whatever. Always trying to get that. So spying on the U.S., stealing U.S. military secrets, etc. That's what they do, right? So okay. So there's this guy Arnon Milken, right? Here's some of the movies that he's a small sampling, right? Once Upon a Time in America, Tin Cup, Pretty Woman, Fight Club, The Revenant, the Big Short, JFK, 12 Years a Slave, all right, Natural Born Killers, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Heat, LA Confidential, Free Willy, all right? Here's another one. Stephen Turner Mnuchin. He served as the 77th United States Secretary of Treasury under President Trump. He assumed the office on February 13, 2017, and held the position until January 20, 2021. Mnuchin co-founded Dune Entertainment, and I think it was probably the one that produced the movies Dune, but can't be sure for that, but that's where I've seen it before, I believe. He co-founded Dune Entertainment in 2004, later merging with Rat Pack Dune Entertainment with Brett Ratner and James Packer, primarily financing major studio films like American Sniper, Mad Max Fury Road, and Wonder Woman. According to the Miller Center, key titles under his executive producer credits include American Sniper, the Lego Movie, Wonder Woman. The Washington Post reported he served as executive producer on roughly 31 films, including Mad Max, Suicide Squad, The Intern, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Keanu, The Legend of Tarzan, and so it's like almost every one of those movies carrying the messages, and we addressed many of them. So this is another Steve Mnuchin, and he is someone who's at cabinet level of government, and so it's a big thing. There's another one, the guy, the former director of CIA, if not the assistant director, but former, I think his name is McLaughlin, and he was a how can you say amateur magician. He was an amateur magician, right? So the point is that these people who are in this kind of business, in this field, that penetrates, have the ability to cast illusions like Wizard of Oz and able to get into the psyche of individuals. That's what they do. So if they, just like the movie Wag the Dog, right? The movie Wag the Dog is also telling the truth, right? And I think during one of these cycles, I don't know if it was during the George Bush cycle, they tried to ban it or something like that. But the point is that, Wag the Dog is it's the tale of like, okay, how can we spin this? How can we spin this? How can we spin this? Right? And so you need people like this who direct and produce movies, because it's all political theater. It's all political theater. So in the masses of people, the audience is just an audience at large, right? You can look up Darren Brown and the mall experiment. I call it the mall experiment. That's probably not the actual title, but you'll see it. And this Darren Brown, he shows how a whole mall of people can be manipulated by one person with a microphone. And it is amazing to see. And so I'm going to say this and move on, right? I don't know if you noticed that in the past couple of days, there was a couple of mass shootings, stabbings, something like that. For me, in the light of all this heat that occupied Palestine / Israel is getting, Israel is like, it's like Israel / Zionism, that it's like they cannot hide from the bad opinion that's rising up on some very clear voices in the world, especially here in the West, in America, white and black, left and right. Okay, So that's a problem. And then of course there's the Jeffrey Epstein files and everything that goes along with that. And so when I see those kind of things, those kind of events, what I see is false flag operations. What I see is psyop operations. What I see is the intention to divert the attention away from these things that these people, whether it be Donald Trump or the state of Israel, not wanting the heat that they're getting, and they want people to be distracted. Those types of things happen, and unfortunately, uh, it's not impossible that something even bigger, of a higher order, I'm talking about of a 911 order, I would not be surprised if something like that happens in America right now, because it's too much heat on the ones who have, quote unquote, the most to gain and the most to lose, and they are the most vulnerable. That makes them most dangerous. Excuse me. Makes them most dangerous. My eye is on, the headlines, because it's like the the whatever the drug is or was, what is wearing off. That's also part of the meaning of when the fullness of the Gentile has come in. When the fullness of the Gentile, that's the end. And one of the readings of that's a biblical statement. One of the readings of that is, it's like when the narrative no longer works. We had the Gentile, we used the Gentile. We conquered the world with the Gentile. In the movie, speaking of Mad Max, right? I think the Mad Max Fury Road is the one when the woman came in. But the one with Tina Turner in a Thunderdome. That's one of the things that protects Israel right now. That name, the dome of something, what have you. There's a character in there called the Master Blaster, and the Master Blaster is a dwarf that sits on the shoulders of this giant who has no brain of his own. His head is just covered with a steel helmet, right? You don't see his face, anything like that. But the little dwarf who runs the underground town, that keeps everything above going, uh, he's the Master Blaster, right? And so there's a play on that for as far as hip hop is concerned, and they play on that too. Uh, and so I'm saying, the Mad Max thing is also evident in that play, in that operation, and that's the one who said, "We don't need another hero." That was a big song. All right, so just understand that. Okay, the master is a dwarf, the blaster is America. Let's just put it like that. They use America for America's muscle by lying and tricking the American people into feeling that it's their responsibility to fight Israel's battles, right? Okay, so now let's go to the specifics of that medium, the movie Medium, right? At the Paris exhibition, 1895, the Lumiere brothers, who were pioneers in photography, for the first time in history, the brothers were presenting to the public a moving picture. Nobody had ever seen a moving picture, right? Excuse me. It was a short film depicting, in utter silence, a train chugging into the station. A train chugging into the station. Into the station, spewing steam and charging directly towards the camera. The audience's reaction, they screamed in utter terror and ducked under their seats. People had never before seen pictures move. So they registered what was happening on the screen as real. Since they nor anyone else had ever experienced this, so far as they and their brain's perceptual system was concerned, the images on the screen were reality and not an illusion. The brain responds to the illusion created by the film with the same circuitry as it does to life itself. Even on screen emotions are contagious, right? So, this is a Paris exhibition, is like the World's Fair. And so, first time moving pictures were shown. And that's the reaction. That's 1895. The extent of the Zionists, and that's what's going on in the state of Israel. The extent of Zionist control over the U.S. mass media, including internet, is astounding. The mass media has effectively prevented most Americans from understanding who is really behind the false flag terror attacks of 911. There's a guy, I don't know if you can find it because you know what happens. His name is Christopher Bolin. Christopher Bolin. I don't know, Bollyn. Uh, and it's called The Architects of Terror. I heard it on Guns and Butter, which is one of those KPFA kind of things. And sometimes it's been a few years that I've tried to look for it, but I wasn't able to find it. But you can probably find it. In fact, I'm not doing it, but maybe you could if you have that freedom. If you use chat at all, for example, you can put into it, where can I find the architects of terror? Because I did find something that I had lost touch with using that query on chat the other day. So the point is that chat GPT is wherever it is, if it's on the web, if it's on the net, it will reach out and find it if it's there. So I say again, Christopher Bolin is his name, Bollyn, and architects of terror. Okay. It says the mass media has, says the mass media has effectively prevented most Americans from understanding who's really behind the false flag terror attacks of 911, and by extension, the illegal and genocidal wars in Afghanistan, Palestine, Lebanon, and Iraq. The controlled media has also left Americans with an extremely distorted view of the Middle East, Zionism, and the history of the Zionist state, Israel. Jews from Eastern Europe created an empire of their own in Hollywood in the early 1900s. This is after that 1895 Paris Fair exhibition. They created an empire of their own in Hollywood in the early 1900s and have influenced how Americans see the world ever since. All right. So you have Universal, you have 20th Century Fox, MGM, Warner Brothers, Paramount Pictures, all of that. These are the founders. All right. All right. So fast forward to late 20th century, right? The responses to the movie Paranormal. Remember, we just talked about turning the clocks back, right? The responses to the movie Paranormal, running out of the movie Terrified. This is in late 20th century. This is after many movies, many videos, many etc. moving pictures. All right. That response to that movie, Paranormal Activity, is a sign that the satanic mind has progressed in its manipulation of images to such an extent that it has regressed the mass minds to pre-20th century level perception. That is, they're reacting in this late time, whenever this movie was released, late 20th century. It had regressed. Remember she's fresh, right? The clock going backwards, turning back time, manipulating time, tick tock, right? It has regressed the mindset to such that he doesn't have the ability to suspend belief, if you will, or to critique these things, and it just goes right in, and your brain doesn't block, check, be objective about it, but just reacts to it just like an animal without a brain, without the same kind of prefrontal cortex that we have as human beings. In any case, and there was a song that came out some years ago. She blinded me with science. She blinded me with science, and that's exactly what they did. So listen, that's just movies. You already know what is AI going to do as it progresses. What is it doing now? What this is in the infant stages of the public access to artificial intelligence, right? So we really are going to have to be in touch with and have the real capability to be in charge of our thoughts and our capacity for thought and reasoning and our ability to distinguish between the artificial and the real. It's very, very important. In fact, Yolanda told me a statistic that she was looking at today. 70% of teenagers now do most of their socialization with AI friends or something like that. It's like they're making friends out of these artificial creators. And there were movies a couple of years ago about that very thing. Now it's a reality. And that's another thing that movies are. Movies are propaganda, but understand what propaganda is. Propaganda is preparation. Propaganda is preparation. Propaganda is not the lie that is told. Propaganda is the preconditioning that sets you up to accept the lie when it's told as the truth. Propaganda is whatever is used to prepare you, to soften you up for a lie that they intend to tell you, right? And so if the propaganda has worked, then you're already softened up and you're already prepared for the lie. So when I tell it, you won't reject it because my propaganda has worked on you, right? So it's not the lie. It's that if you see it as a lie, then the propaganda didn't work on you, right? So that's one thing, right? But otherwise, but that's not the story of the masses of people. The masses of people is like the mass mind is mashallah, but the mass mind is an animal mind. The mass mind is not whatever. It doesn't choose. It only reacts. Let's move on. So now, so you have these tracks, right? These tracks, and think about it. You know, what runs on these tracks? Trains. Trains. What is that? That's discipline. They train you, right? You train. Imam Mohammed says iron, that this iron is a symbol of culture. Iron is a symbol of culture, and it's culture that provides the rails for our disciplining in a certain way, for our seeing and moving in a way that the culture dictates, right? So when we talk about in the Quran where it says, say, everyone acts according to their shakila, everything is 1784 in the Quran. Everyone acts according to their shakila. Shakila is acculturation, socialization, and it's a shackle. We are shackled to our cultivation, shackled to our cultivation. I think the author's name is Charles T. Tart. And he gives, you know, an explanation of how every culture doesn't want you. Every by nature, whether it's a good culture or a bad culture, every culture aims at getting those who are within its domain to not think. It wants the behavior of those in its domain to be automatic, so as to do what the culture expects you to do without having to be told or forced or what have you. And successful cultures, meaning self-perpetuating cultures, they are successful because they're able to put the individuals into what's called a cultural consensus trance. Cultural consensus trance. Just think about any movie. One movie's coming to mind right now is Dark City. That's another very interesting kind of sci-fi-ish kind of thing, but it's telling a big story. But the point is that people, you know, go to sleep, wake up. They go to sleep as one thing, and then while they're asleep, their memory is taken away from them, and then they wake up as somebody else, not knowing anything about who they were before they went to sleep. And then, so these aliens are using the masses of people for their experiment to study human nature in that sense. And I have to tell you, this if you haven't heard already, I think his name is Charles Barr, and I don't know, the guy who was the Attorney General, I think under Trump. I think his name was, I don't know, whatever his name was, Barr. Just go with Barr. But I'm pretty sure the father's name is Charles Barr. Just look it up. And so Barr and the Epstein files, right? The BARR, right? Point is that he does this book, science fiction, some 40 years ago, a long time ago, more than 2 decades, let's put it. And basically the sci-fi story in that book is what Epstein was doing, that got him into quote unquote all the trouble. But it was already in that thing was already the theme and the story in the book that this guy Charles Barr, the father of the former Attorney General under Trump, and it's like what does it call it? Art imitating life, right? So the point is that there are those who are already doing, who come to do what is first put in fiction, and then they make it a reality. And that's also how movies are used. That's also a part of the propaganda. Again, propaganda is preparation. So I give you a movie to set you up, just like the AI friends that we talk about, the 70% teens right now. They made a movie a few years ago. Oh, even like Joe TV or something like that, Matthew McConaughey or something like that. That was the first time you saw supposedly the reality TV. Also, the Truman Show or something like that, with you know who I'm talking about, goofy dude. I can't think of his name. Uh, any case, he lived his life in the in a bubble, but for everybody else's entertainment. So it's like reality TV. So before these reality TV, so-called reality TV programs, there were already movies and things that were promoting that. And so then ultimately it becomes a whole industry of reality TVs like Joe TV or like the Truman Show in that sense. All right, so let's move past this. So shackle and iron and train. You've heard this term entrainment, just like I just mentioned cultural consensus trance. Put you in a trance. Entrainment is being in a trance. So you get caught into a certain rhythm, and so some of these rhythms and some of these orbits, they're not. Well, what the Imam said it. It's like it's it's like 10 years. It's like they go from conservative to liberal, right? And this is what we say. You have the, he said that in the arc swings from conservative to liberal. He said at the bottom of the arc is aberrant behavior, immoral behavior at the bottom of the arc, swinging from one to the other. And so, but what's happening when it swings over here, reaches its limits. One day we have to talk about Heliopolis. These are just so many things we haven't had a chance to. But Heliopolis, all this is a strategy that's at work in the society that other societies have used to maintain their rule over the people. And so it's happening. So it swings down. So what happened? It's decay. The arc is decaying. Then it swings up this way. So what do you call every 10 years? A decade, right? But what has happened in every 10 years? Decayed. Society has decayed. Every 10 years, you get this 10-year cycle. So you have this 10-year cycle. There's still a rhythm, and you can get entrained in that rhythm, right? How many times do fashions go out and come back? Right? Okay. Entertainment. What is taining? Taining. What taining is when you have a piece of glass and then you put the silver, maybe it's mercury or some other silver backing. You put the silver, but mainly this liquid stuff that was put on for the original mirrors. It's called taining. It's called taining, right? So you have taining. So when you have entertaining, right? So the taining is what enables you to see your image behind the glass, right? You're able to see your image. And that's one of the reasons. What is that? When you see your image, that's a reflection, right? So a reflection is to say you're reflecting, you're thinking about it, all right? It actually represents a conscience, right? It represents a conscience because you're looking at yourself and making judgments about yourself. That's a conscience. When you have a conscience, you're reflecting on it. El mufakiru in Islamic terms, it's like scientific morality, if you understand it. So you have entertainment. So what happens to entertainment? Somebody is entering into your tain mind, your taining. There's something that has been, so it represents your subjectivity, right? That silver, that reflection is representing your conscience. It's representing your subjective makeup. Entertainment gets into your subjectivity. All right? It gets into that. And that's one of the reasons why vampires, they don't have reflections. Vampires don't have reflections. Why? Because they have no conscience. They have no conscience, right? And so entertainment is just that. How do we enter into your subjectivity so that we can control, so that we can contain, so that we can restrain your conscience? We can use entertainment, entering into your subjectivity, to direct how you behave, how you reflect, what you think about, what you perceive your own behavior as, right? Which would also include rationalizing, justifying, how can you say, anesthetizing your conscience, and just, if it feels good, do it. Just do it. Don't worry about it. Nobody can judge me but God, whatever. All right. And so that's the role that entertainment plays. That's the role that movies play. So, well, there's an author, Grant McCracken, culture. You can just put in Grant McCracken culture, but you don't have to, mashallah, you don't have to read the whole thing. But there is a source for it. So McCracken on the transmission of meaning and artifacts. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time there. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. See, the point here, just what this whole thing here is saying is like there are products that are produced by the culture that are the carriers of the values of the culture. Basically, that's what things do. Yeah, that's what things that you manufacture. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, whatever. Those are artifacts that are created, and they are created by the culture, and they are designed to carry the values of the culture and reinforcing in the ones who buy it or buy into it, reinforce in them the values that are represented by whatever that artifact is, right? Mini skirts, whatever else. So I already mentioned to you about the key movie for this is Under the Silver Lake, and so there's the timer on it. You can go to 1 minute, 1 hour and 30 minutes into it, and you can see the old man that is the Jahcubite Shaitan character with his monologue about mass manipulation through the culture and through music. So it's like literally it's the Jahcubite at the piano talking about this is how we do it, right? For my own notes from this Audible Wonderworks, stories, narratives, and movies provide the rationale and the rationalization for the aspirations and appetites of particular audiences, especially the impressionable youth. They also direct sentiments and aspirations towards particular orientations. The function of story technology is to operate like a remote control in the hearts and minds of an uncritical audience and take the art to heart. It's like it's a science. The ones who are doing it, if this no child's play, it's no game, it's nothing haphazard about it. It is a psychological operation on the whole culture. All right. Uh, so when we talk about the colonial mind, right? The colonial mind invasion, the dream team of the Inception, the movie Inception, the dream team literally invades another person's unconscious, entertaining, right? Invades another person's unconscious, a subtle allegory for Western psychological colonialism, control not through brute force, but by the manipulation of desire, right? That's what is done vis-a-vis the movies, right? Get inside and then run things from the inside, right? Imam Muhammad, rahimahullah, he said, the highest knowledge of man in society is the science of his spirituality. And believe me, you're not ruled by guns. You are not subdued because of great physical knowledge. You are subdued because there are people in this world who know more about your spirituality than you do. And they're able to use the tools of science, blinded me with science, the science of movie making, etc. Use the tools of science that they have regarding your spirituality to manipulate you and keep you under adverse spirits, right? So this is ISIS right here. This is ISIS, right? And so you have this character. We know this is the Ankh, the key of life, right? The key of life, which is to say this is the way that you control the human being. It's a type of the human being, but the open loop here is that the way you actually hold it, though she's holding it at the bottom, that's for the role that the plate actually plays in preserving the knowledge. But as a key, you'd have to put your hand through the hole. And when you put your hand through the hole, that means that you have control of that individual's mind. And that's the key of life. That's the key of life. And another outstanding overt thing about this, one of the things you have these scales, here. You look at her body, he has these scales. Okay, so it can either be a lizard, or pardon me, or a snake per se. And inside of the story of Isis, I believe there is a place where she's depicted as a snake, as well. But the most telling thing about this is that she has two right hands. She has two right hands. This right here, that's a right hand. That's not a left hand. So it's like this hand, the thumb is up here, you know, on the other side of the fingers. Okay, here, right here. Here's the right hand. It's the same thing. All right. So what is it saying? They have conscious control of the unconscious mind. Right is the conscious control. So when you learn how to get conscious control of the unconscious mind, now you're able to be in charge. Right? Exodus. Here's this thing. This is what the quote unquote children of Israel, according to the Bible, were told to do by God before the Exodus, the night before the Exodus. And it's in the Genesis, pardon me, it's in the Bible, Exodus chapter 3, right? And I'll read it, chapter 3, verses 7, 7 through 9, and then 21, 22. It says, and the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppress them. And I will give these people favor, right, in the sight of the Egyptians, and it shall come to pass that when you go, you shall not go empty. I'm going to add empty-handed, right? But every woman shall borrow of her neighbor and of her that sojourns in her house jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And you shall put them onto your sons and upon your daughters, and ye shall spoil the Egyptians. Right? So I once asked the Imam, I said, is the Bible a playbook or is it a book of prophecy? He says it's both. Part of it is giving you a recipe of how to conquer and manipulate, how to gain power over people who are bigger than you, right? And this was one of them. Get their wisdom, get their gold, get their silver, get their raiments, that's all a sign of that. Take the Egyptian psychology, the Egyptian knowledge, the way that they have dominated you. I'm going to tell you, this is so-called God. I'm going to tell you the way that they dominated you. Okay, you're going to get out from among them, but what you have to take with you is the precious things that they use actually to dominate their world. But you're going to have to take and use the same knowledge when you go out. And that's what they did. And so we see this represented. You see this represented in our world. It's all around us, right? So you have the pyramid, which is just most obvious. And then you have the eagle with the shield and the olive branches and the swords. All of it is a remix of the same thing. So you have this star, the Star of David, right? So you have the top of the pyramid, but then you also have the top of the inverted pyramid here, and that's how they dominate. They come to this consciousness, they evolve to this level of consciousness, to apex awareness, etc. Again, the watch, right? But then they take that knowledge and turn around and peer into the unconscious makeup. The base of the pyramid represents the unconscious makeup. So they evolve upwards to get that knowledge, get that insight from a material perspective. Then you turn around and you get that vision in the subconscious makeup, your own and others. Okay. And so when you have this striping here, this striping here is just like this striping here in I'm presuming it's Tutankhamun. And then here these arrows, same as this is like, what do you call it? The cat o' nine tails or something. So what is this symbolism here? This symbolism is, first I'm going to seek to dominate you physically, but if I can't dominate you physically, then I have the crook. I have a psychology. And the Pope carries one of these too in the big ceremonial issues, because it's supposed to be a shepherd's, but they call it crook, the shepherd's crook, right? And just think about it. We have the president and we have the vice president. What does that mean? What is it? The vice president? You the president, the vice president. So you're the president of the vice. So, and again, so the idea, here's the weaponry here. And the same thing that Pharaoh did his operation. So here two characters. Leor Cohen, I say Liar Cohen, but Leor Cohen, Russell Simmons and Def Jam, what have you. And this is Rick Rubin. These guys, Jews, it's like the multi billions of these high level stars, the Jay-Z's and Cowgirl Carter or whatever her name is. It's like these are the ones that promote them, make the money, blah, whatever he's. Oh yeah, Jay-Z is a billionaire. Yeah, okay, good. What about these guys? What are they? Right. So Leah Cohen is on the board of directors Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, works at the global head of as the global head of music at YouTube, a position he's held since 2016. At YouTube, Cohen was instrumental in the launch of the streaming service YouTube Music, which was introduced to compete on a more level playing field with the likes of Apple and Spotify, right? So these are the Wizard of Oz type folks, right? All right, and here this. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, this is gonna be like the end of it. The ISIS, the ISIS dog. Remember, we just showed you ISIS. Well, this is her dog, right? And it's called the Anubis. Anubis is a black man dog, right? In the Egyptian mystery system, he is the god who helped to embalm Osiris, which is what? Preserve dead leadership. After he was killed by Seth, which represents the loss of the value of leadership. Thus, Anubis was the god who watched over the process of mummification. All right, wrap. That's what it is. Wrap, mummies are wrapped. Right, mummy rhymes with dummy, which Bay Area is, the whole hyphy dummy movement and the like. In any case, so over mummification while reigning over and preserving leadership of death. I mean, how much death is in rap right now? Even a big part of the horrible Wetico, devilish, evil scheme is these artists. They're raised up, they grow up, blow up, then beef gets created between them, and these people who sign these people to these record deals and the like, they also have insurance policies on these artists. All right. And so they rap about death, they rap about gang life, rap about this and that, and death happens all the time. So more money is going to be made after the rapper is dead from his material, and money is being made off their death from the insurance, right? And then death has been the consequence in the cities in consequence of that, right? And nobody's hurt more than us, right? So let's just call it a skimming. So let's talk. Unmute yourself if you want to have a comment. I'm not hearing anyone.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, Imam. So, Imam's piece, Imam Muhammad's piece on Fight the Schemes of Satan, is applicable to all of this, what you're speaking of in this presentation. And I mean, it's like it seems as though, as far as their soul, and I'll just say, use the term, they're under the Jahcubite concept. These guys who's manipulating people through the movies. It's the same thing as you trying to get out to get to life, but I'm gonna grab your heel and pull you back like Jacob, right? Okay. So anyway, what I'm trying to get to is that they're now they don't. I mean, so as far as the soul goes, I mean they're still human beings in that sense, but as their soul goes, they're operating almost purely on the concept of the nefs and matter, with no conscious, with no conscious of what the consequences are.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
terms of their soul,
Right.
in terms of their soul. So therefore, so like that includes all of those guys, you just mentioned, from Trump on down to or up to whoever, going way back. So that's been happening for a long time.
That's the process. In fact, when we say khutwa shaitan, don't follow the khutwa shaitan, don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. The word is actually talking about the program of shaitan. So
Right.
once you start operating in that way, you're in the program. And so
Right. That's
you
right.
just get to more and more levels till you become, how do you say, indistinguishable from a devil yourself.
Right. So people in there, when we talk about the moods, the jussive moods and the jussive mood and what is the subjunctive moods and the imperative. So you have these movies, and I think the Imam on one tape, he was saying that he went to the movies and it was a John Wayne movie, and he's looking at how John Wayne walking.
Yeah.
He said he came out of the movie and he found himself walking like John Wayne was walking. So it has that. So something got into his spirit until he caught it and came out of it like that. But I'm just saying, like those movies, the unconscious mind of people are under that influence, and they'll do. It might be subtle, but they do little things that are really like evil. It just pops in. They can't help it.
Right.
It just pops in. Now the only way we benefit, in terms of the Quran goes, that Allah has told us what to say. He said, one just A'udhu bi Rabbil Falak. Creation, seek refuge with Allah from the mischief of created things.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, just I'm just looking at the soul aspect of it, and the three nafs, how they're operating and what people in their behavior, totally unaware, and will not accept the truth of the Quran when they hear it.
MashaAllah. Thank you.
Inshallah.
Others?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu, man.
I had a hard time getting off there sometime. What a deep dive into psychological warfare, man.
Alhamdulillah.
I need for you to share with me, I'll say, your definition of the Jahcubite, because he seems like the villain in this presentation, and I always thought about him as in the form of Israelis, because of Israel's connection with that. Share with me something, because you got probably a different take on it, especially through this psychological warfare through the movies.
Okay. Let me reshare something right quick. And I would recommend you all have, most of us have some access to some of the early teachings of the Imam on that. And let me see if I can find something very, yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, that in I want to try one more thing here. I'll be right with y'all. Hang on there. There we go. All right, we're almost there. All right. So now I'm speaking to you. Can everybody see that? I mean, oh no, you can't see it. So I gotta do a new share. All right. All right, so here is when the Imam first told us about the Jahcubite, right? Jah was the thing, right? There are those who call God Jah, etc. And Jah it has to do with Jehovah. But Jah meaning power and force, right? Jah represents, according to this early instruction from the Imam, motivations, drives, sentiments, and aspirations, right? So I put that right there in the middle because that is the game that the Jahcubite plays. The Jahcubite is the one who manipulates the motivations, drives, sentiments, and aspirations, right? And it's a state of mind, just like Imam Asma was just talking about nafs al-a'mara, nafs al-lawama, nafs al-mutma'inna. Those are descriptions for states of being. Those are descriptions for the condition of the soul. So in a similar way, the Jahcubite is the one who comes to the place where his interest is and his skill set is the manipulation of the motivations, drives, sentiments, and aspirations of people, just like Shaitan. Shaitan, and again, don't look for Satan himself actually literally on everything that you expect that Shaitan will do. You're going to find it being done by human beings, but they are not the Satan. You know, they are full, just like the movie Fallen, right? The movie Fallen, it was passed on sentiments. It was when skin touches skin, the person passes it on that spirit goes from one person to the next, right? So that image, even the whole movie, if you went and listened to the whole movie, you saw the game. You thought that Denzel himself actually literally was the devil, if you will, because of the way that his voice was played into it. Okay, so in any case, the point is that Shaitan is a rationale. The Imam actually says it's a rationale that's inherited by individuals, right? So individuals inherit this disposition, this skill set, this orientation, this strategy for controlling and manipulating people. So the Jahcubite, Jah being motivation, drive, sentiments, and aspirations, then the Jahcubite, so this is a cube, isn't it? So the Jahcubite is the one who knows how to do that. Iblis, who became Shaitan, he was out. He had been kicked out of the garden. Then according to At-Tabari, he got back into the garden on a Bactrian camel. That's another story. But the point is that the reports say that Iblis, who is now Shaitan for his disobedience and being put out, he overheard Adam say about paradise, Ah, would that this could last forever. That's what Iblis, or Shaitan now after Iblis, he heard Adam say this. This is the report. Say, ah, would that this could last forever. Oh, and then Shaitan, he perks up. He said, oh, what did he perk up for? I see something that he wants that he doesn't have. I see something that he wants that he doesn't have. Would that this could last forever. So now I see an appetite in him for something. And he doesn't understand how strong these appetites will be in governing his life. He hasn't learned how to be aware of and to manage his own appetites. So this is where Iblis, Shaitan, stop calling me Iblis at this point, Shaitan, he gets into your motivations, your aspirations, your drives. And this is also in the entertainment field. It's just whatever once I know what you want to be, then I can manipulate you on the basis of that aspiration, that appetite, that drive, that sentiment, right? Whether it's good for you or not, right? So in terms of the Jahcubite is the one who knows and focuses on and can manipulate the motivation, drive, sentiments, and aspirations of individuals. So when you take this and you put it into this pyramid format, right? We know it's a lot of squares there, but that's the point. The point is that those 4 squares, those motivations, drives, sentiments, and aspirations, they are at the top of the pyramid. And this is what the Jahcubite is always watching. He's always watching to see how or if he can, or the individual is or is not managing and directing their own motivations, drives, sentiments, and aspirations. And so that's where his power lies. That's where his scheme operates. Many do mislead men by their appetites unchecked by knowledge. And so that is the Jahcubite. Whoever uses that strategy in whatever their field is, you can find it in politics, you can find it in academia, you can find it in culture, and the rest. So that's that. I'll limit myself to that right now. You have something you want to add or clarify, Imam?
No, that was very helpful. I only think about the checkerboard pattern.
Yeah.
They used to say Muslims ain't supposed to play chess.
Yeah.
And I was wondering whether or not that pattern or the idea connected with that pattern had anything to do with that type of I never bought into it.
Yeah, no, good. Because
I just hear, because they'd ask me, I said, no, man, go and play chess. That's a game,
There's a book called The Immortal Game. Every time I turn around and look for something, I can't see it. In any case, it's called The Immortal Game. And you can see the history of Muslims because the game, quote unquote, changed in some respect. It evolved. And one of the main things that the Muslims switched up on it was taking away any like imagery or what have you in their time. But no, really, chess is life. Chess is life. And it has a lot to do with the change from, backgammon used to be the big thing in the time before chess showed up. Then when chess showed up, it shifted. And the difference between chess and backgammon is the idea of fate versus free will, right? So it's like your chess moves aren't based on the toss of a dice. So it's not random in that respect. It's using your free will, using your intelligence to quote unquote play the game. The other one is just based on fate and random whatever toss of the dice. Right.
Okay. Thank you so much for that.
All right, thank you. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for today. Alhamdulillah, I'm glad you spent this time with us. If you have any other questions, you can always hit me up, and inshallah, we'll follow up. So inshallah, see you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa
alaikum assalam. Wa alaikum assalam. Right.
I